Hi, this is Ken Bailey again, your slightly crazy middle-aged cartoonist, lifelong hobby cartoonist, and his character, the Mighty Energy Girl. You might have seen a recent, very amateur video where I started with a blank white sheet and drew a picture of Energy Girl, who is my ongoing superhero character who is at various spots around the web. I thought I'd do another character or two for once again to share this wonderful hobby, and who knows, maybe get some of you interested in taking the plunge. Anyway, we'll kind of go backwards this time. These are finished panels of my character. There's one way to ride a train. I make these down at the local copy store. I also publish my own comic books. There's a recent cover. They're not for sale. They're often available for free viewing on the web. But the main purpose of this is stress relief and for the pure pleasure of the craft. Here we see an unfinished picture. I've just gotten the black and white light inking done for those of you who watched last time. I always start with the text, then put in the major figure, and then draw the rest around it. But what we're going to be doing today is I'd like to introduce you to one of the supporting characters in the cast, this person. This is Dr. Holly Pena. Yes, the name is meant to sound like an awful, atrocious pun, and yes, they get worse. So those of you that can't take it, you can still rush to the kitchen and get a snack, and by the time you'll be back, I'll be done, and you'll be on to your next video. Holly is actually a world-renowned psychiatrist, psychologist, and ethicist in the Mighty Energy Girl's fictional universe. She works out of an office in upstate New York for the same government facility that regulates, monitors, hires, and administrates the superhero community. And whenever heroes have a problem they can't quite handle, she is the one who is called in. She also is one of the staff that administrates the regular training every summer, heroes call it summer camp, for recertification to serve the following year. Holly is a fully mortal person, but with an IQ that is stellar. She's deliberately blonde because I wanted to give you blonde people a plug. We've had enough stupid blonde jokes. This is one of the highest IQs in the world on a blonde person. So, as we said before, to draw Holly, much the same way as Energy Girl, we start with just the basic shapes using the pencil. Same thing. We draw an almost nude body because it's just like hanging a door. You have to put in the various muscles and shapes so that when you put the clothes over it, everything hangs in the right place and you know where to put the wrinkles. Dr. Pena is my oldest character. She is 71 years old. Drawing older people can be something of a challenge. But hey, since I'm just a hobby cartoonist, I do my best, and if it turns out fine, and if not, oh well, then we go on to the next one. So, having gotten the basic shape, with the pencil, we use a very, very fine point permanent black ink pen for what I call the next stage, the light inking. One of the ways we can show Holly's age is give her just a slight chin and then not connect the sides of the face to it. This gives the appearance of just a little bit of a double chin because as you age, gravity takes its effect and your skin begins to sag just a little. We also want to give her just a little bit of sagging in the neck and a little bit of wrinkles. And for those of you that wrinkles always mean ugly and stupid, next time you look at that Help You I Will character of George Lucas, he's got a few wrinkles too. Did you notice? Wrinkles can translate to old and wise. We cartoonists learn to pretty much grab onto any trick of the trade we can to give people an impression about who our characters are supposed to be. Now Holly, obviously, not being super endowed like Ellen Energy Girl Peabody is, will have lower shoulders, much less in the neck, higher forehead. She likes to wear rather long, dangly type earrings. Sometimes I part her hair in the middle, sometimes I part it on the side like there. The way I often draw it is where the center hair is pulled back and held behind her head in a clip. So we'll do that first, and the rest kind of hangs down. She's got kind of kinky, curly blonde hair, that is attractive enough that even though she's 70, she still wears it all the way down to her shoulders. Now, how do we draw age in the face? Well, we start by drawing a face like anybody else's face, really. For starters, I generally use the nose as the anchor and then radiate out from there, going up the bridge of the nose, and that's where to put the eyes, and then out to the sides for the cheekbones. The mouth is about halfway between the cheek and the chin. And now here's where we start doing things different for Holly than we did for someone younger like Ellen. We want to convey that this is a person who, though she is one of the smartest people on the planet that you'll ever meet, or I'll ever meet, is one of those that is like that old guy with the raincoat, for those of you who are older. Now, I have to do these dumb impressions because of trademark and copyright. I can't name, even on TV shows, other people's characters by name. But you know that old detective that looked like a rumpled coat that seemed to be a bumpkin, and then in the last 5 minutes of the show just blew all the elite away because he had really solved the entire crime. Oh, did we just lose our picture? It buzzed. Okay, we're new at the photography business here. So, Holly is often underestimated and likes it that way. To show age, we give her just a little bit of bags under the eyes like that. The other way we can show age is to bring the cheek lines all the way around and under the mouth. As you get older, you tend to take things less and less seriously. You get excited about less things. So we'll make Holly's eyes kind of half closed because she's seen it all by this time. Very few gets her really worked up. So she also tends to like to wear brooches or other things like that. We'll give her a nice little chain around her neck. It is Valentine's Day, after all. Holly's husband died back in 1991. She's been a widow ever since. She married nuclear physicist Arlington Pena in the 70s, and he died, like I said, in the 90s, and she has been kind of devoting herself to the superhero community ever since. So we'll give her a nice, I like to give her rather loose-fitting dresses, almost like an evening dress, but not quite. Once again, when you get to be Holly's age, you don't have to worry about decorum so much. You just wear what is comfortable. And you don't worry about people judging you quite so much anymore. Okay, because we also want to add some stuff in the background that will give away that she is a good doctor, psychologist, ethicist. And the way to do that, one of the best things that says doctor or advanced educator is to put diplomas on the wall. Now, as cartoonists, we love to hide personal or local references in our cartoons. So this is going to be the University of Rangeley. The real Rangeley does have a college, but not a university. But we can play with that a little bit. And so we have Holly's name there and the other stuff in the background. And then at the bottom is where the dean or the officials sign in. So let's see, who would be a good dean? Jimmy Dean. That sounds good. He's a dean. Jimmy, you can't read it real close or your estate, so don't sue me. There we go. Okay, and then down here the U of U, University of something. And once again, here we'll just put Sanders, a famous person named Sanders, who is never chicken, signed that diploma. And then also another thing that says office, like a doctor's office, is a nice neutral lamp in the background. There we go. See, enough detail to just lock everything in, but now we're going to get the heavier pen, and now we do the careful work. Time for sketchy is over, time for careful has begun. We still recording there, Mr. Photographer? Okay, once again, everything anchors in around the nose, so that goes in first. Since Holly's hair is blonde, and thus her eyelashes and eyebrows probably would be at least lightly blonde, starting to go gray, we don't want to color them all the way darkly and just do their outlines. Most of my characters' eyes are blue. Don't ask me why, they just are. You don't want to do too much with the bags under the eyes, just a little. Another thing you can do for older people is tops of their cheekbones, like that. And then underneath with the one thing you don't want to do is draw lines in between the individual teeth unless you are one of the few that can do that without your character looking like that bucktooth guy that's in that famous humor magazine I can't mention. Generally, if you draw lines between the teeth and you mess it up at all, you ended up with a character that looks like he has an IQ less than your average rock. So I generally leave the lines that would go in the teeth out in my characters. Now, we'll do the hair tied back. We show that by just a little bit of shadow on the two sides of the top part. Holly's got a high forehead, like I said, so we want to kind of accentuate that. And then it comes out along the side, a little bit of shadows there. And like I said, just kind of tumbles down her back like that. When you're 71 and world famous there too, you generally comb your hair like you want to, and you don't worry a whole lot about what people think. After all, look at that Albert guy, E equals MC squared. I think I can say his name, can't I? He was a real Einstein. He looked like an unmade bed much of the time. One of the world's smartest humans. And dangly earrings. Now another thing we can do that says educated person. Holly has just been reviewing someone, I assume. Maybe a... Whoop! Is that it? We are still good. We're still filming. So we will give her a clipboard. Nothing says educated like a clipboard, or boss, or foreman, or whatever. Good old brooch here. The picture on the brooch would probably be her husband, Darlington Pena, her deceased husband, but since I've never ever drawn him ever, I don't know what he looks like. He hasn't been invented yet, so just a little bit of cleavage there. She doesn't have quite as much in the female places as Ellen does, so we accent that a lot less. Nice, comfortable, loose-fitting dress here. And because presumably it is not winter time in upstate New York right now, like it is where I am, a sleeveless office type dress. And her chair, a little bit of shadow that would fall from behind the body onto the top of the chair. There is a wall that comes down here. That would explain why you have these diplomas, but you don't want them floating in space, do you? So we have a wall edge here. Put the diplomas in. And then the lamp that we talked about is just a little bit further back here. Notice that even though I'm using the heavy pen and I'm being a little more careful than when I was using the light pen, we're not quite as tight with the black as we were for the smaller picture, because we will add the tightness with the color when we add it shortly. What do I mean by that? I mean it still looks just a little bit sketchy. There's still a few places where the lines don't quite come together. We will fix that when we put the color in on this bigger picture. And lastly, since we just want this sketchy, if anybody in Rangeley does not want that fair city to have a university, we make it real sketchy so we can say, no, I'm sorry, Mr. Lawyer, that doesn't say Rangeley, does it? I don't see that, do you? I am very fond of Rangeley, by the way, so this is kind of a little love letter to them, but for the uninitiated, they won't even notice it's there. University of Rangeley. Okay, and of course the University of Sanders, the chicken. Or whatever. There are Holly's. Put just a little bit of shadow on one side behind the diplomas. Lastly, class, before we go on to the color, what do we need to do before we finish with the black and white? Never forget your signature. And for those of you that have them, the copyright, where you want the copyright symbol, you want the date of creation, which by now is February 2012, And you want who you are and the place of origin. And then, as we said in the last tape, I have found that putting a slight halo around and then later filling it with yellow sets it off real nice. In the same way, you want to put a slight halo around the character in your foreground. This will set it apart from the background when you put the color in and keep it from just kind of blending in with or being swallowed up by the background colors. So we'll just kind of outline, you leave just about between a 1/16 of an and an 1/8 of an inch and just go all the way around your major character as neatly as you can, like so. In this case, I think we will include her chair in the halo because it's in the foreground as well. Lastly, it never hurts, you don't have to worry about being perfectly straight, to put a nice border around here, around the edge. If you use a copy machine or a printer, this will help the machine determine where the drawing is supposed to end. So, okay, there's the black and white portion. Now I'm going to add the color. Normally we would erase the pencil lines, but because our time on film is limited, we're just going to color right over them. Now, as I mentioned before, I am a colorblind cartoonist, so I can't tell you the name of these pens, but I appreciate that the color is printed on the outside of the pen. As we said, our resident genius, Dr. Holly, is blonde. So we start with the lightest color, which in this case would be good old yellow. We want to move very fast. We don't have to be worried about filling in every tiny little spot and gap on a picture this size. Especially with a person with lighter hair like this. And especially since this pen is starting to go dead. Time for me to work at my day job, earn some money, and go buy some more pens. Okay, anyway, we also want to say we tried to use the one color just once, so we want to color everything else that would be yellow on this picture. So like I said, your name in your signature box, maybe accentuate some of the letters on the diplomas in the background, and maybe just a little around the edges. Okay, now we want a complementary color for Holly's dress. Good complementary colors for yellow are blue or red or sometimes a very light purple. Once again, we want to take the lightest color possible because this gives us the option later of adding a darker blue or complementary color over it. If we did the dark color first, we're stuck. So we take the light blue and once again, be careful not to smear it with your wrist. But if you do, don't give up. Just work it into your drawing somehow. But there we go. Now, is there anything else we want blue? A slight reflection on the glass that is presumably protecting the diplomas. Okay, now, here's why we use the light color first. Now, because I'm colorblind, this next step looks really good to me. My wife, who is not colorblind, says it doesn't always look good to her. But we take a darker color that complements the light color and gives some depth. This is orange, which complements the yellow. So we just, in the areas where the light might not get through as much, like around the edges, and where her face would throw a shadow, we add just a little of the orange. Not too much now, just a little. You know, with all of her muscles and her female curves, Energy Girl actually is easier at this stage because her body involves a lot of circles, and circles are very easy to surround with a darker color and give a sense of depth. Do I have something to show here? I don't know. Yeah, like this. This is a little severe, but you see what I mean. Lots of circles. For a more human, less super person, you don't have quite that many neat shapes, so it's a little trickier, but there you go. Now we're going to do the same thing with the blue. We are going to try to quickly find a darker blue. I stick my head in the bag here. There we go. Same thing here. We want to go around outlines. Where something is hanging over something, like the earrings, you give just a little bit of shadow under that. And then areas like the underside of the bust would not get as much light, so we don't want to do too much, but just a little shading down here, just a little where the abdomen comes in, like that, and again around the edge here. You're beginning to see the point. And if this looks a little bizarre for you, again, lots of other cartoonists out there, but I want you to just see how much fun this is. Okay, another complementary color to the colors we already have is good old red. And there's pink. That's not quite what I had in mind, but we'll leave that out just in case. There's brown. At last, red. So what we're going to do, since the foreground is very light, we are going to use the red for what I call the wash in the background, which will make the light colors of the foreground stand out just a little bit more. And I'm being just a little sloppy here because we're trying to keep things moving for the film. I would be just a little more careful if this were for real, but I want you to get the overall picture before the camera comes to a stop. Now, the foreground, obviously you have a wall here, would not be the same color as the background. We'll figure that out later. We'll use the brown for Holly's clipboard. Except for the clip, which would be a metal, so it would be either silver or blue. And silver or there isn't a silver. It'd be either blue or gray. And since we already have a lot of blue, I'm going to quickly find a gray kicking around in my little bag of tricks here. Ha! There it is. So, gray for the handle and the clip. And let's see, is there anything else that might be gray in our picture here? I guess not. We'll just leave it at that. And let's see, where did that brown go? Oh, like a dunce, I put the brown away. Oh well, I was going to do the frames. Let's see what we'll try to find a nice green for that back wall if I can scare one up quickly in here. I really should have had all the colors out beforehand, but that would show that I actually think ahead, which I don't. So that's a gray. And there's a green. Now normally you don't want greens and blues right together, but since the wall is a little further back than Holly's dress, I think this is going to work okay. Well, we're going to find out. And normally the carpet probably wouldn't exactly match the wall, but oh well. Now we need a more neutral color for the table, the lamp, and whatnot. And normally I would recommend a color called sandy tan, but since my only sandy tan went dead yesterday, we're going to use a lighter green. This is called a sea foam green. It's not quite as tree-like as the brighter green we put on the wall, but we can, hopefully it will complement everything well, and again, if not, so what? This is how we learn. A lot of experimentation involved in this business. In fact, we're even going to make the frames green. That might be a mistake, but looks okay to colorblind me. Okay. Oh, I forgot to do... Anyway, now the last thing we need is a real light color for the lampshade. And what we're going to do is I think we'll just give her some good old yellow. I forgot to Holly's eyebrows and her eyes. This may be purple, but if so, oh well. And just a wee bit of orange to set off that lampshade. As I said, orange is the complementary color for yellow. Also the complementary color for flash color. Young cartoonists, when you pull the cap off a pen, it's usually good to make sure the cap is away from you and not inside your palm. Even we old hands sometimes do really stupid things on camera. Just shows we're human. Don't worry about it. Okay, there we go. And here we have the esteemed Dr. Holly Gale Pena, from blank sheet to finished work. All right, young cartoonists, now I prefer you don't use my characters. I prefer you make up some of your own. You can have a psychiatrist that treats superheroes if you want, but name her something else. I already got Holly. This has been Ken Bailey, your Nazi cartoonist. Have a good day.